Hello YouTube, this is Chozohana Mike, and I've wanted to kind of get back into trying to do Let's Plays for a while now. I've did some in the past, but they were really horrible. So, got myself a brand new mic, brand new webcam, and we're going to kick this off. Since the Spyro Reignited trilogy was recently announced, or at least hopefully it will still be recent by the time I upload this, I thought it might be kind of fun to go through and revisit the old games. So, these games, like a lot of people who grew up around that time, were a big part of my childhood. I played the hell out of the original 3 Spyro games back in the day. I can still remember the... Oh, no. Brand new game. I can still remember getting the demo for this game way back. If anyone is in the UK, got the PlayStation magazine with, you know, the little demo disc inside.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the 5 worlds, or is it 6? For a dragon's age. We now have 12,000 treasure.
Polygons.
Is it 14,000?
What about this Ganasty Gnorc character? Now, I understand he's found a magic spell to turn gems into warriors for his cause.
I'll take that question. Nasty Gnorc is a simple creature. Simple! He has been contained in a remote world and is no threat to the Dragon Kingdom. No threat! Besides, he is ugly. That does it!
And that's what you get when you antagonize a tyrant.
Looks like I've got some things to do.
It's a dumb story. I think anyone who's, you know, played these games as a kid will be able to look back and acknowledge it's not a great story, but get down. Right. My cat's just finished his dinner, so he's feeling a bit mouthy. It does its job. It gets the ball rolling.
Releasing me, Spyro. Free 10 dragons in the Artisan world. Then find the balloonist. He'll transport you to the next world.
What about Nasty Gnorc? I'm going after him.
Find dragons first. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, it's simple. I mean, you got to remember the time period this game came out in. Having like this big story was not a priority, and really never has been. Spyro, I love the original 3 Spyro games. The first one, least so. I mean, not that it's a bad game. It's just it's overshadowed, I think, very, very heavily by 2 and 3. But it's still a great game, but none of the 3 really... Oh. Sorry, I'm trying to... My cat's sniffing around my mic, so I'm trying to make sure he doesn't knock it over or anything. Yeah, it doesn't need to be anything more than it is. It knows that. Oh, come on. Oh my god, my aim is so horrible. It's been a long time since I played this game. Like I said, it's really overshadowed by the later games in the series, so if I ever go back to revisit the Spyro games, it's always 2 or 3. Which, I'm honestly not sure which of the sequels is my favourites, but we'll get to that when I get to that game. I will save this dragon for now. I want to go back and collect the treasure in the rest of the area first. But yeah, the point I was making, none of the Spyro games, or the classic Spyro games, really bother that much of story. I mean, obviously the sequels have a lot more of it. Especially 3, I would say. But it knows what its priorities are. Its priority is to be a great platformer above anything else. I always love that little effect where you... I was gonna say that I was gonna dip into explaining what the game is for anyone who hasn't played it. I know there's a lot of people out there who have, but there's presumably some people out there who haven't played this game yet. I can't remember what year it came out, but it was a very early PS1 game, as you can tell by the graphic style, and quickly became one of the biggest names on the PlayStation, along with Crash Bandicoot and Rayman and Tomb Raider and the like. It was one of those big icons of gaming that helped put the PlayStation up there, you know, as one of like the bigger consoles compared to its competition, which, let's be honest, at the time the biggest competition this thing had was the N64. I mean, the Sega Saturn and the 3DO weren't exactly, you know, scaring Sony. Sorry if I'm still feeling like I'm kind of trying to find my footing. I haven't done this in a long time. Right, as you've probably picked up by now, again, this is for anyone who hasn't played these games before or know nothing about Spyro. The objective is to run around the different... You've got the hub worlds, and then you've got the individual levels, which is what all these portals have been. Your two objectives, or two main objectives, are collect treasure and free dragons. And I have missed a gem somewhere. Where the hell? There's also the whole thing with you've got to find these thieves who have stolen dragon eggs, which becomes a major thing back... It's introduced in this one, but then becomes the central focus in Spyro 3. But in this one, it's just a case of, you know, another collectible. Excuse me. Ah, there we go. Alright, that's all 100 gems in this world. But yeah, I guess you could kind of classify Spyro as a collectathon. I kind of bunch it in...
Press the jump button twice to glide, and don't be afraid.
Afraid? Of what?
Falling from high mountain peaks? Plummeting into prehistoric glaciers?
Oh, that.
No pressure. Yeah, I have met a few people who haven't played the Spyro games before, and I always kind of tell them it's a similar kind of gameplay to something like Mario 64 or Banjo-Kazooie. So, yeah, you could classify it as a collectathon. In that you've got the hub world, you've got individual levels, and then you've got all the different stuff inside that you need to go around. It's more about exploration and platforming than anything else.
Spyro! You have much to learn first. Do you know what the dragonfly following you is doing? His name is Sparks, and he's helping and protecting you. Keep an eye on him and see what I mean.
I just noticed those waterfalls aren't moving. There is a secret here, but I don't think... Nah, you can't activate it until you've been to, I believe it's the second world. Yeah, Sparks, as that dragon just mentioned, is this little glowy bug following me around. He, as he mentioned, is your health. He will change from gold when he's at full health to blue to green, and then finally he will just disappear entirely. And when Sparks has gone entirely, then Spyro's got one hit left and then he dies. Spyro's main abilities, as you've already seen, he's got his Flame Breath and he's got his Charge Attack.
Cool Flash, do that again.
The Artisans boss is through a portal in the Dragon Mouth, but you are not yet ready, Spyro. First you must complete one of the other Artisan lands.
Saying that I'm not ready to face the boss in there is really insulting when you actually get in there and see what it is. But let's head off to the very first world, Stonehill. And this will introduce us to kind of the general layout of a lot of the levels this game in particular has, because the later games tend to go for a bit more of a linear through line. You know, Spyro 2 and then 3 introduce different quests, different mission objectives that you can do. The first game is much more open, much more explorative. That is one thing. If you try and get him to turn, he'll actually turn. Right, he won't snap to that direction. You'll like turn around, and it can kind of throw you off. Or it throws me off, at least.
Watch the dragonfly, Spyro. His color indicates his power. When he eats butterflies, he stays strong. Like me.
Sure.
Yeah, to elaborate on that point, the sheep that you've seen running around a place, when Spyro is low on health, you flame one of those and it'll turn into a butterfly for some reason. And when Sparks eats the butterflies, he gets his health back. So you can see even something as simple as getting your health back encourages exploration, and you got to be kind of careful in how you do things, because if you're running around looking for a sheep in an area with enemies, then obviously you're still at risk. It's not as simple as, you know, it's something like Mario 64 especially, I never really felt a whole lot of threat, because if you get near an enemy like a Goomba or something, you hop on it, you get a coin, you get your health back.
Step on one of their platforms, you're saving your progress. That could be useful if you run into trouble. Not that you ever run into trouble, Spyro.
But yeah, you'll see as the series goes on, the first game, like you can see it right now, there's no real objective presented to you beyond the surface level, find all the dragons and find all the treasure. It's just, it presents you with an open world and you're expected to run around and find it on your own. Those purple chests, as you can see, I already broke one back in the Artisan world as well, give little statues of Spyro that are your extra lives. That changes in Spyro 2, they become these, I think it's blue butterflies.
After you freed all the dragons, pass through this fancy vortex thingamajigger. It'll take you back to the artisan home. But first, let me tell you a story.
No thanks. See ya.
Spyro, you will respect your elders. One thing that also changed, and I don't want to compare it too much to the later games, but it kind of begs to be compared. Spyro can't swim in this game. Oh dear. I swear I was holding to try and turn. His turning, he cannot bank worth a damn. But yeah, Spyro can't swim in this game. That is also something that changes in the later games. But as it is, you touch water or any kind of pool of liquid at all in this game, Spyro will take damage from it. You can see I'm going to be charging a lot as well, just because it's a faster way of getting around. I think anyone who played this game as a kid learned to do that a lot. But yeah, the later games, like I mentioned, have a lot of objectives and missions and all that kind of stuff. Here it's just, here's the world, it's got a whole bunch of collectibles in it, go nuts. Ow. I thought I hit him. So yeah, you can see I've taken damage, so Sparks has turned blue. Fortunately, there are a lot of sheep. So, and then Spyro numbs it, he's back to gold. I don't know if you heard that, that chuckle is the telltale sign of the thieves, which you'll see what they look like eventually, but as a kid it actually took me a little while to figure out about the area over there. Because I could see the gems, but I didn't necessarily know about the whole open area to go exploring.
All right, friend, how about a hint on gliding?
You bet.
For the longest glide, press the X button at the top of a jump, and try pressing the triangle button to drop down in mid-flight.
That is going to screw me over a lot. Again, I don't want to compare it too much to the later games, but in Spyro 2 and then 3, he gains an ability called the Hover, which is if you press triangle... I say triangle. I'm playing this on an Xbox 360 controller, which is not good for old-school platforms like this, but it's all I've got. My Steam controller won't work with the emulator that I'm running this on, which, yes, I am running this on an emulator, but I bought this game years ago, so it's not like I'm stealing it or anything, it's just I can't record it off the TV. All the games that I'm going to be playing, or let's play on this, I do own actual copies of that I paid for. And it's definitely worth it. I mean, even if you haven't played these games before, they're still definitely worth it. There's one of the thieves. But yeah, in this game, like you mentioned, if you press triangle in this, you will just drop down out of the sky. And that's one of... I can't remember what you get if you get all the eggs. I can't remember if that's how you unlock the hidden final world, spoilers, or if it's collecting all of the treasure and dragons that does it. Either way, I am going to be going for 100% on this, so I suppose it doesn't really matter. Right, I do remember I did a test playthrough of this level a while ago, and there was one gem hidden in here. I was stuck running around for like 10 minutes trying to find the last gem that I had missed in this level, and it was hidden in that little area there. But yeah, this big open area. The first game has a lot of these big, wide open sections like that, just to encourage more of the exploration, a lot more, you know, wander around, do things at your own pace and stuff. And I get it. I mean, like I say, it's still a fun game. I enjoyed the hell out of it, but I tend to prefer a bit more structure, which I think is just one of the reasons why the first game is overshadowed. Dear. What am I? I'm missing 10 gems. There's gotta be a chest. Oh, wait. Right. Derp. The chest. Yeah, that key that I found in the cave unlocks this. There's a few of these throughout the game. There we go. I was terrified for a second it was going to stop on 199 and I wasn't going to be able to get it. So that's everything. Okie dokie. So Stonehill done. The levels aren't too long. I mean, they do get bigger than this, but they're not huge. I remember this game being a lot longer as a kid, presumably just because I played it over and over. One thing, let's see, I think I can test this out now. Yeah. You'll see that little dot that appeared above my icon when I picked up that orb. Enemies, they're supposedly called Norks, which is okay. But yeah, enemies normally drop gems when they die. They get different types of gems. Usually it's the green ones, I think. There we go. And we'll just go ahead and do the first boss now, because it's really not a big deal. But real quick. Oh, right, I can't. Yeah, okay, you can see all the different eggs that are up there. I'm trying to bring up the heads-up display. I don't think you can do that. I'm used to in Crash Bandicoot, you know, you press triangle and the heads-up display comes down. But yeah, when you kill an enemy that you've already collected a gem from, it drops one of those orbs, and you pick it up and it forms a little dot around Spyro's head in the top right there, as you can see. When you collect enough that you form a complete circle around his head, you get an extra life. Okay, this... Ow. Yeah, I knew that was going to happen. I'm going to sound like a complete loser when I say this, but this level actually gave me a hard time as a kid. Not because of the boss himself, purely because of those dogs. And it was for the very simple reason, you can see me there rolling out of the way. I didn't do that as a kid. I don't know why, but I never learned how to maneuver Spyro with the roll in combat. I was an idiot. It's really simple, as you can see. You just hit them once to aggro them and then roll out of the way. Enemies in this game are really not a big deal. You'll occasionally get sucker punched by them, but there's not that many instances that I can recall, at least in my playthroughs, even as a kid, of dying to enemies. You're mostly going to be dying in this game from falling into water, getting knocked into water, or falling off of cliffs. Usually just stuff like failing to make a jump, you know? Or failing a glide. And it's been discussed a few times. Bosses in this game are a joke, and they really are. You'll see yourself. Like I said, this is the first boss of the game right here, in this level. He's also the one, if any of you have seen the Reignited Trilogy trailer, he's the one in that. Which, that was one thing that I was a little hesitant about. Don't get me wrong, I'm hyped as hell for the Reignited Trilogy, especially, I think everyone kind of knew coming off the Crash Insane Trilogy. There he is. There's the first boss. But I think everyone knew after the Insane Trilogy was released that Spyro was hopefully going to get the treatment again at some point.
Nasty Nork has put one of his most devious henchmen in charge of the Artisan World.
That's embarrassing.
I think I smell a barbecue.
Be careful, Spyro. This boss has many tricks up his sleeve.
He really doesn't. But anyway. Goddamn controls. Getting used to an old game with a controller that is not meant for it is, yeah. But yeah, one thing that I noticed right away with the trailer, yeah, you can see it's a sheep, is all the footage that they showed from the Reignited Trilogy was exclusively footage from the first game. And I'm wondering what that means for the sequels. Like, I think I read that the expected release date is September? Which, they've got to have already been working on Spyro 2 and 3 by that point. And there we go. That's it. That's the boss. I am not kidding. And that's that level done. That's the first boss finished. That's how long it took. But yeah, I'm waiting to see the designs of, the characters from the second game and how those work. Like the redesigns of, specifically like Ripto and Hunter and stuff like that. We just haven't seen anything of it yet. Or at least we haven't as of the time of this recording. Maybe we will. Knowing my luck, the day after I upload this, there'll be a whole bunch of stuff, like a whole new trailer or whatever released, whatever. If there is, cool. I'm hoping they're not going to release Spyro 2 and 3 as like DLC or something, or like you need to buy a season pass or some shit. That would be really shitty, especially with how good the Insane Trilogy is. But yeah, you just saw that this level, Dark Hollow, introduces two new types of enemies, and really the only variation on enemies that we get in the whole game. Well, no, okay, that's not true, I take that back. The only variations on basic enemies that we get in the whole game. And that's the shield enemies, and I have to climb up here to get up there. Shield enemies and big enemies. Big enemies you can't charge. If you charge into them, you'll just bounce right off them. You can only kill them with a breath attack. Shield enemies, you saw the very first one I met when I entered this level. If you try and flame, your flame breath will just absorb into the shield. You need to charge through them.
Oh, it's you! I wasn't sure if you'd escape those annoying little creatures. Of course, they wouldn't bother me, but here's a hint. Metal armor is fireproof, but a charge attack will take care of them.
Like I said. This level is one of those ones where it's like, I've seen people talk about like a remastered Spyro 1, I've seen artwork for it all the time. The Artisan homeworld that you saw at the start is probably one of the most iconic things in this game that separates it from Spyro 2 and 3. You see the Artisan world, you know it's Spyro 1. This level for me is another one of those. I don't know what it is, but this one level just sums up the whole game for me. Whenever I think of Spyro 2, I think of this level. Oh, one neat little thing here that I always liked. Good old polygonal PS1 era campfires. I always loved little things like that, and the little details like that are all over the place in the series. You've already seen being able to burn the grass and stuff in the Artisan homeworld. that we'll be meeting in the second world, there's tents that you can burn down as well and expose Norks that have hidden inside them. And I think that's part of what made Spyro such a big deal on the PS1, was just the amount of charm, the amount of detail, and like I said, the biggest competition this series, that this console had, was the N64. And I can't remember any or many N64 games that had this level of, I don't know, just the little details, like I say, little things like that that don't need to be in the game. Like, the game would function absolutely fine without any of those little details, but they add more to it, you know?
Big enemies like this Gnorc with the club cannot be charged, but a quick flame, that should defeat them.
Again, like I said, big enemies, you flame, little enemies with shields, you charge. However, yeah, okay, that was the portal out, by the way, so that's, like I said, these levels are not particularly big. This guy is essentially both, and as you can guess, you need to flame from behind. I remember actually being kind of intimidated by this section when I first played it, because they say you have to get the timing right. I don't know, I guess I was worried that, you know, if they saw me, they would go for me. So you'd have to be kind of sneaky and stealth behind them, which obviously isn't the case, but I can't, like I say, I can't remember when this game first came out, but I was little. I want to say I would have been around 6, 7. Like I say, this level just kind of sums up the game for me. A lot of those
Spyro,
cute blues
want to
and
know a secret? Use the
fading into the purples. It's very atmospheric.
Look around. Oh, your secret's safe with me.
Like, this game has a very, very rich color palette. You can see they're right there. This is the level for me. Those deep midnight blues fading into the purples. And you'll see, like, there's levels later that have like washed out, and there's a swamp level that has a very you know, like pale green type color palette to it. There's one with very, very intense oranges, but it's always very appealing to look at, regardless of whatever level you're in. I can only think of maybe 1 or 2 levels that aren't all that interesting to look at generally. Okay, that's that level done too. But beyond that, I mean, you can see it for yourself. This is just my own opinion on how the game looks. There's obviously going to be people out there who aren't that impressed by this kind of thing. I fully admit I'm biased. This game was my childhood, you know? Alright, so let's see. Through there's the balloonist, already done that one. I think the only level left is the town square. Yeah, even though he's holding a gem in his hand, he has no more gems left. Also, you'll have noticed now the fairies that stand over the platforms that the dragons run. Those are checkpoints, essentially, because this is, I say, a big open world. You know, it's a game that encourages exploration. You're running around all over the place. There's no dedicated checkpoints, so they have those instead. You run past one, the fairy zaps you, that's saving your progress. That's saving how many gems you've got and how many dragons you've got, that kind of thing. Yeah, in this level, the chickens down there are the replacements for the sheep. You kill one of them, you get the butterfly.
Welcome to Town Square, Spyro. Begin exploring by gliding to that area with the bulls. Use the L2 and R2 buttons to get a good look. Use the L2 and R2 buttons to get a good look. Use the L2 and R2 buttons to get a good look. Use the L2 and R2 buttons to get a good look. Use the L2 and R2 buttons to get a good look. Use the L2 and R2 buttons to get a good look. Use the L2 and R2 buttons to get a good look. Use the L2 and R2 buttons to get a good look. Use the L2 and R2 buttons to get a good look. Use the L2 and R2 buttons to get a good look. Use the L2 and R2 buttons to get a good look. Use the L2 and R2 buttons to get a good look. Use the L2 and R2 buttons to get a good look. Use the L2 and R2 buttons to get a good look. Use the L2 and R2 buttons to get a good look. Use the L2 and R2 buttons to get a good look. Use the L2 and R2 buttons to get a good look. Use the L
Yeah, that's another thing. This game came out before the advent of analog controllers. You see what I mean? This is a little touch. There's no reason for that to be in there. But it's just cute. Yeah, like I said, before analog controllers came out, you were stuck using shoulder buttons for the camera, which is not as good. These things I always really liked. As you can see, it's just like a big gem on like a chest kind of thing. But you flame it, the gem hops out. You're supposed to flame it and then jump up.
Thanks, Spyro. I had the worst itch on the tip of my wing. Oh, did you know that you get your longest glides by pressing X at the very top of your jump?
Yes, I did. Oh, Jesus. I was trying to be clever and take out the bull without hurting the Nork. Because I think he does... Does he? No, I thought he, like, held up the flag. Yeah, and if you can get the taunting, there's another thief in this level as well. But because of how separated all the platforms in this level are, it's going to be a little harder to catch him than it was in the last one. Let's see. I will admit as well, the levels don't feel as imaginative in this game, and that might sound a bit blasphemous, but hear me out. You can see, like, the level is like Town Square or, you know, the Dark Hollow. They feel more like chunks of one existing world, as opposed to in the later games where you're being sent to different worlds.
Spyro, did you see a man dressed in blue running around here? He's a thief, and he's stolen a dragon egg. You've got to track him down and get that egg. Run! Run! I'm getting a little winded.
Yeah, apparently Spyro's the only one who can do anything. Because the other dragons just fuck off. But yeah, each of the each world has a theme to it. You know, like there's a world we'll be going to later that's all themed around canyons and like deserts and stuff. There's one themed around magic and things like that. Each of the levels you go into there feel more like chunks of that one world, whereas in 2 and 3, and again I know I keep comparing it to them, each portal you go through takes you to an entirely separate world that can have nothing to do with the theme of the hub that you're in. And that's not to say the levels aren't as imaginative, it's more they just feel... It's just a difference in creativity, like I said. Each of them has their own thing. Like, I actually really like the levels, the worlds in this game, because you get ones, like I said, that there's one later themed around dreams and stuff like that. And there's... Wow, I completely missed that one. This one's actually kind of fun as well. You have to spin it to get it to activate. Thor.
Thank you for releasing me.
That did not look like a Thor, and that starts kind of a running theme in this game, which is a lot of the dragons you've seen have offered genuinely helpful bits of advice. Well, I say genuinely, if it's your first time playing, hints and tutorials on how to play the game. Then you get ones like that literally just say, thank you for releasing me. There are at least a dozen of them in the game that just do that, and it's always a bit of a letdown. I mean, I'm not expecting every single one to have their own Actually, no, I take it back. I am expecting each and every one of them to have their own individual thing to say. Even if it's not particularly useful, you can give them something to say that's interesting. Alright, so that's that. Let me have a look. Right, that's all gems, all dragons, got the egg. I think that's everything in this level then. So let's get back. I think that's the last world? Well, except for one, but like I said, you can't get to that one yet. Yeah, there's no kind of section for the artisans in general, I don't think. No. But I'm pretty sure that's all of the worlds, with the exception of the last hidden one. So, we go to this guy. I never understood why the balloonists are all lobsters. Right, so we've got Artisans World, and now we're heading off to the Peacekeepers World, and Spyro casually being a dick, jumping on the balloonist's head. And then I think he just stole the balloon. So, heading off to, as it says, the Peacekeepers World, which is, if you can tell by the music, very war-themed. Like it takes place in this big desert, but yeah, you can see there. And you see when we come out here, yeah, there's cannons and some of them have guns and stuff like that. The ones later on in the game get much more advanced weaponry.
Welcome to Peacekeepers, Spyro. Look how our treasure has been turned against us and stolen. Recover our treasure, Spyro.
Collect treasure. Got it.
I think I'll leave that one there for now, though. I've completed the first world, as far as I know, with the exception of that hidden level, so I'll call that a part one. So, apologies, I know I was kind of rambling through a lot of this one. I know I'm still trying to get my footing, but hopefully I'll get better. Thanks very much for watching, and I will hopefully see you next time. Take care.